Public CEO Report is a podcast that provides insights about the public sector and public policy for the benefit of decision makers and leaders powering our communities. I'm your host, Ryder Todd Smith, and today we're joined by Justin Lovell, President of the Municipal Management Association of Northern California, otherwise known as MMANC, and Interim Deputy General Manager at West County Wastewater District. Justin, welcome to the Public CEO Report.
All right. Thanks to be here. Nice to be here, Ryder.
Interim Deputy General Manager. I got to admit, I've known you, Justin. I didn't realize you had this new interim title.
This is new. This is in April. It just started a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
So it's an exciting opportunity to step up into a Deputy General Manager role at West County Wastewater for the next 6 months.
Well, we'll get into that in a second about how you got to the agency you're at now. But let's start first with how you got into local government.
I mean, I started out, my first job was a lifeguard and swim instructor at a city pool. I followed in the footsteps of my siblings, right? My older brothers did that. I thought it was a fun job. First summer job was going to the pool, lifeguarding, teaching swim lessons. So that I didn't know at the time how that was going to go into a career, several years later. But I think that experience of working with the city kind of planted the seed of getting interested in local government.
First of all, I can't tell you how often I talk to folks who are advanced and doing well in their careers in local government who started in Parks and Rec at some city. In my view, Parks and Rec is like the single best recruiting resource for city governments, is to get high schoolers into their Parks and Rec program, get them oriented to local government, and then try to draw them back once they go through, an AA degree or a college degree or whatever, to get them back into the family of local government. So hot tip for local government, use Parks and Recreation as your recruiting pool for adding new staff, for those of you that have Parks and Rec district. This was all back east, right? You were from New York City?
No, I'm actually from the Bay Area. I grew up in Milpitas.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. So this was, New York City was grad school, but this was Bay Area. So I'm a Californian.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to falsely accuse you of being one of those dark.
No, it's okay. I had to leave California to know I was a Californian, or I am a Californian.
Sometimes you have to leave home to find home.
That's right.
So tell me, education pathway, where'd you go to school?
Yeah. So I went undergrad to San Diego State. As many of us from Northern California, we like to go down to Southern California, try it out. And so I did that. I was actually loved recreation. I majored in recreation administration. So that was what I thought was going to be my career path. So even in, going to undergrad, I worked part-time. I continued lifeguard, swim instructor, became, CPR instructor, just got, further advanced in the aquatics field and looking at recreation. But then I ended up, once I was getting almost ready to graduate, I decided I wanted to join the Peace Corps. And so that took me into a month after I graduated, I was in Bolivia working environmental education in the Peace Corps. So that was my jump off kind of out of an airplane moment of, hey, let me go do something different. Let me go experience another country. And that was probably one of the biggest growing experiences for me was Peace Corps. And a lot of what I learned, what I've taken in local government was kind of on the ground, on the boots learning, in the Peace Corps of kind of like community engagement, how to get the community to know you. Right. Mm-hmm. I really learned that working in a small town in Bolivia.
So I could dive in deep on Bolivia, but I want to make sure I get the timeline right. You graduate, you're an Aztec, you graduate SDSU. We have a few of those running around our firm at the Tripepi Smith. And then you go off and you do Peace Corps, and then you went to grad school?
Yeah, so I did Peace Corps for a little over 2 years, came back, living with my parents back in Milpitas for a couple months. I knew I wanted to go grad school, but I wasn't ready to apply and go straight into grad school after Peace Corps. So started looking around for jobs, and I ended up working, continuing my volunteer experience, and joined the AmeriCorps and worked with a nonprofit out of high school in San Jose that worked with at-risk youth. And so I was a life skills coach for one school year. So it started in August and we went through July of that year, working with mostly freshmen, some sophomores who were kind of invited to be part of the program, who may have been at risk to join gangs or do other, maybe not graduate high school. And so the objective of the nonprofit was to help make sure that they had the resources to be successful in school and knew what other pathways there were beyond just the neighborhood where they grew up. So during that time, I applied to graduate school and got accepted into the New School in New York. And so I studied urban policy and management at the New School.
And then you ended up coming back to California to continue your public service career?
That's right. Yeah. So I was at that time, I've decided I was interested in local government. That's the career path I wanted to take. At the New School, we were most of the people I went to school with, they were policy focused, right? Like really big in affordable housing. There were quite a few that were big into kind of education policy, or there were, sustainability focused. A lot of them wanted to continue. They were from the New York area, right? They're kind of that tri-state New York area. They wanted to stay there. I got an internship at the New York City Office of Management and Budget. Big, so you're thinking 300 people, working just in the Office of Management and Budget in the city of New York in the Parks unit, because I kind of took in my my Parks and Recreation background and was able just to, I was really part of the group that was kind of going through the process, making sure that any new park renovation had all the, the checklist before they went out to bid. Did they follow all the proper procedures? Do they have the money? Do they have, operation maintenance funds available? And then I would go and write a memo, and then that would go through the approval process, and it'd go out to, then it would go out to bid. And so I did that for about a year.
And then now you find yourself out west, and you are working at a wastewater district, right?
I am. Yeah. So I'm working at West County Wastewater District in Richmond. So we're in Western Contra Costa County. So those West County, that's Richmond, Pinole, Hercules, San Pablo area, very well defined. So when we say West County, it's Western Contra Costa County.
Yeah.
So I've been working at the West County Wastewater for almost 5 years now. I started there as the Director of Administrative Services. And so I've over the areas of finance, human resources, information technology, plus kind of many other assignments as they come up, as in the case of any job in local government.
And is the district entirely focused on sanitary sewer, or is it stormwater too, or?
Yeah. So we're a special district that is collection and treatment of wastewater. So, the end of our product is we produce clean water.
Okay.
And so we have a service area of about 104,000 people, about 15 square miles in northern Richmond, El Sobrante, San Pablo, portion of Pinole. And so it's kind of, we take the wastewater from that area, and we have a wastewater treatment plant that's right next to the bay in Richmond. And actually, one of the things we actually don't get to talk a lot about, that almost 85% of all of our water is recycled. It is going for other uses, and it doesn't just go out into the bay. And so I think that's one of a really big accomplishment that we've been doing for several years now. And it's in a partnership with East Bay Mud, and the water ends up for industrial uses in the Richmond.
I was going to ask, Richmond has certainly petrochemical presence, but I'm assuming there's some industrial uses around there. I'm assuming it's not exclusively just being used for irrigation.
No, it's not. It's mostly related to the Chevron refinery and into their processes.
All right. Now, so you have this one hat you wear now with your interim title as interim deputy general manager, and then on the other side of your head with your hat, you have the Municipal Management Association Northern California. So, tell me a bit about MMANC.
The MMANC was founded in 1950. We're almost 75 years old as an assistance group. Right, those are the assistants to city managers in partnership with the League of California Cities, and we still have a very strong partnership with the League of California Cities. It's been going on strong for all of these years. So MMANC is morphed over the years into really anybody who works in local government in Northern California. So our area, while most of our members work in the Bay Area or Sacramento, we have members all the way as far south in Kern County, Bakersfield, and they can go, and our coverage area goes all the way up to the Oregon border.
Okay. It's a big footprint and big organization. How many members do you have again?
So we have a little over 600 full members. So if we put in all the different member categories, we have a little over 800 people as part of MMANC. So
that's a lot. Is that close to a record for you guys?
It is. We're COVID really did a number and made it. I think with a lot of associations, we lost a good number of membership, and I think we were just about at where we were at the end of 2019. And so we're kind of recuperating. We're on the upward trajectory to grow more members, because we have actually quite a bit of opportunity of area of where we can provide value to those who work in local government.
And tell me about that a little bit. Like, what's the big mission ultimately? I mean, I realize the founding was focused on assistance, but sure. In my experience, MMANC is very broad in terms of the type of staff members that are participants. And I guess I would note too, I think it started out mostly focused on city governments, but here you are at a special district, a wastewater district, as president of the organization. So clearly they've diversified their membership.
Right. Yeah. So over time, still cities are the biggest portion of our members. But we have a growing number who work for special districts like myself. We have a good amount that work for counties as well. So it's really anybody who works for local government. So it's cities, counties, special districts in Northern California. It's while the focus has been on cities, MMANC, we're a generalist organization. We provide, general leadership and management training. How can us, as our members, because a lot of our members are division managers, right? They're managers. We have a good number of department heads or assistant directors. We have assistant city managers who are part of our group, and we have a lot of, just say management analysts. The title management analysts across all departments are a big portion of our members. And so we're not focused on one technical area, because in California, I'm a member of several other associations that are focused on, the technical area, right? Like whether you have the wastewater, we have the recreation, we have the planning area. So MMANC we're almost the catch-all. So if you want to get better at just general management, leadership, development, that's where MMANC really provides that extra level of service, that professional development, that ability to help you get ahead in your careers is really one of the best things that we provide to our members.
Yeah, I'll say this, and I say this as a business owner too, who, I reflect on the fact that I probably don't invest enough time in our team with managerial and supervision skills. But in general, I think that art of supervision and management is undertrained in our middle management groups. And so having resources and associations out there that are focused on that is helpful for the long run trajectory of local government and just, execution in general for operations in America. And I guess secondarily, I just note, like, a lot of the folks that are members of your group eventually, 5 to 20 years from now are hoping to be sitting in a general manager seat or a city manager seat or some such thing. And as a result, a lot of those skills they learn at MMANC are going to be applicable by the time they rise to that top executive position in organizations.
Right. That's exactly what we've been seeing over the last, couple of years. If we're finishing up our, we're in our last year of our current 5-year strategic plan, and we're working on developing another, an update to our 5-year strategic plan. And as we looked into our membership, we've noticed, the biggest, how people know about MMANC is word of mouth. It's usually their supervisor, their manager, or one of the managers in the organization they work with recommend that they go to MMANC. And it's just what you said, Ryder. Most of those people who recommended it were part of MMANC, or when they were earlier in their career, they attended MMANC events and they saw the value of that. And so now they're, passing that forward to their staff.
So you mentioned that you're at the tail end of this strategic planning period, right? 2019 and 2024. What have been the big, top 3 accomplishments you all have gotten through from your perspective at MMANC?
Yeah, I'd say, we adopted the strategic plan, and a few months later, COVID happened. So I would have to say what we really hit home on is we are an in-person organization. We've tried, just like everybody else, having virtual conferences and virtual events. We have them, and we have had them. There is a role for those types of events, but we found out that a big part of our benefit is the networking between the members, and that's what I tell my staff. And I encourage them to go to MMANC events, is you're going to meet people who are working in other organizations that are doing something similar to what you're doing. Yeah. And so the nice part about working in local government is that we are not keeping our information private, right? Like, we are open source and more than willing to share information with others. So it's, the network is, I'm working on this project. I want to get an example of an RFP. I want to talk to somebody who's worked in a similar issue that I'm working on. I've met several people at MMANC, and I've been able to reach out to them and have those conversations and off the side to help me do better at the job that I'm working on. Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest benefits that we've had with MMANC. But back to the question of what are our accomplishments? I think the piece that we've done these last couple of years is focus on professional development. So we're, the Credentialed Government Leader Program, it goes in flows, but it's a self-directed leadership development program. I participated in it when it was in its first couple years of application. But what I've really found, what I tell others about this is, sometimes within your organizations, there's not many opportunities directly through, the city or where you're working to participate in leadership academies or other kind of professional development. But MMANC is more accessible, where you don't have to wait your turn necessarily, right? When you're ready, we have some resources to provide for you. And so we've been focusing a lot on revamping CGL. There's still a lot more work going on, but we've created a partnership with one of our corporate partners who also leads 4 different countywide leadership academies. And so we've worked it out where those who participate in the leadership academy, if they're not MMANC members, they become members, and then half of what they do in the leadership academy counts as credit towards the CGL program. So they're already halfway there of receiving the CGL certification. And this is the other benefit that we have partnerships with several organizations. One partnership that we've had for a really long time is with ICMA, and ICMA provides 1 year of ICMA membership to those who graduate the CGL program, right? And I think that's a nice opportunity for those who are in MMANC who want to get higher level in local government. Gives them an opportunity to participate in ICMA when maybe they're where they work doesn't see that has a connection or a nexus to what their specific position is.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it definitely sounds like there's been a tremendous amount of investment and resource in this management and this leadership and some of those soft skills of being a leader, which, as I said, is important stuff, and certainly major progress for your membership and for MMANC, and some great value add. So.
Now, I think the other one, sorry, Ryder, I just want to.
Oh, it's okay. Go ahead.
The other one that we just kicked off this year is another professional development leadership program is Up Next, which is really focused on those who are assistant city managers and department directors and assistant directors, and which is a different style of professional development training that we've had in the past with MMANC, but this is our first year. We did some testing with the concept last year with a handful of people. Now we have our first cohort of 20 who are starting. So I'm fortunate to participate in that program this year. But this is really I've participated in several professional development programs over the years. This is the one program where it's really focused on how I show up as a leader, right? And I think I'm really excited to how the Up Next program is going to get wrapped into one of the benefits of professional development resources that we have for our members with MMANC.
Actually, I remember reading about that program, and I was pretty jazzed about it too. That there's particularly an identified cohort of those that are approaching the top leadership position in organizations and having a real strategy focused around them building out those skills. Because one of the things that happens as you approach the top of the organization is you go from the point of having a single boss you report to 5 or 7 bosses you report to. So your upward management strategy becomes much more different than you would have, as a middle manager in an organization. So
right.
I just want to reflect and say I appreciate MMANC, your comments about MMANC recognizing it's a in-person organization. As one of the participants in those virtual conferences, I respect the yeoman effort that was put in by associations to do virtual conferences. I can also just tell you they aren't nearly as much fun. They aren't nearly as rewarding. And for me, I couldn't wait. But I'm a pretty extroverted, as you may know. But I couldn't wait to get back in person and see people and
right.
whatnot. So I appreciate MMANC's commitment to in-person activities, which actually kind of brings me to you guys have a summer symposium coming up in Sacramento. What's that conference or what's that symposium all about? What kind of events can people expect to learn about at that symposium?
Yeah. Yes, that's going to be coming up in August. We're still ironing out the exact location and details, but on the programming side, we do have at least half of the day is going to be focused on providing a Lean 101 training. So those who are familiar with process improvement methodologies, there's Lean, there's several different methodologies, but one of our corporate partners is going to be presenting a half-day training on really the process improvement methodology. I've had a little bit of experience working in process improvement. I have my staff work in process improvement all the time. It's just something that we do. We're all within local government. I've been working on that, every year for a long time. And so we're really, it's just providing a methodology of how, when you have an issue within what you do within your work, there's a way and a systematic way to go about it. And that's what's going to be taught at the summer symposium. There's going to be some other material as well that we're still working out. But I think I'm really excited just to have the Lean 101 session as part of our kind of the main part of the day's activities.
And how many people do you typically get at your summer symposiums?
Summer symposium, we usually get about anywhere from 90 to about 120 people. It really just depends on the topic and the location. On where, and the time of the year, because it just depends on, where people can get. But, it is there. We usually have we have very good content at our one-day conferences. And so they're just, encourage those who are able to attend, because there's actually a lot of good opportunity for learning it there.
As someone who's been to many MMANC events in the Sacramento area, I would just observe that there seems to be a correlation between Sacramento MMANC events and karaoke, and I'll just leave it at that. But I would highly recommend that if you can participate in the process, you may find yourself at karaoke at some point. All right, and then obviously this is one of a couple other events. What else is going on the rest of the year? I mean, if I'm a member of this organization, what else can I look forward to after the summer symposium?
Yeah, our biggest event is our annual conference. That is going to be happening November 6th through 8th in Santa Rosa. So we'll be Sonoma wine country. Where our planning committee is, working very hard right now to make sure that we've got a good mix of programming. So we've always have really good sessions at the MMANC conference. Wide-ranging of leadership, just kind of some of the nuts and bolts of how things, how local government works. And then we also have the receptions and networking activities. So there's, I'm looking forward to this. It's going to happen in November in Santa Rosa. The registration will probably be opening up in June or July timeframe. And it's the highlight. This is our biggest event for MMANC. And it's the event that our members really look forward to, and I look forward to every year. It's one of the best conferences that I've gone to.
And that one gets, as I recall, seems to draw 300 plus people, right?
That is correct. We get about 300, so it's not overwhelming. It's just, I feel like that's a really good size for a conference where you can, it's intimate enough where if you're not so extroverted, you can still meet some other people and kind of step outside your comfort zone without being overwhelmed. But if you still are extroverted, there's still a lot of people you can talk to and meet, while you're there as well.
As the supreme extrovert, it satiates my extroverted needs, so I can appreciate that. Exciting times. Any other initiatives going on? Are you guys launching a new strategic planning process for the next 24 or 25 through 2029 period or 2030 period? What's the vision there?
We are. We're right in the middle of we're gathering our data right now for our next strategic plan. This summer we are going to sit down and have a workshop with our executive committee and some other board members to figure out what areas do we want to work on, what area do we want to update really over the next 5 years. But it's, as we're, as I mentioned before, we are in-person organization. So having annual conference, the Women's Leadership Summit that happens every spring, those are probably our two biggest, most well-known events. We just held our very first equity summit earlier this year at partnership with Sonoma State. And that was very well attended. We had over 200 people attend the Equity Summit and had a full day of just understanding and thinking about how does DEI, how does equity fit into the work that we do as local government? And we had some really good speakers. And now we're thinking about, for our next 5-year strategic plan, where does this fit in? We had a really good reception from the Equity Summit. We've never had one before. How does that fit in with all the rest of our programming? And so these are, questions that we're tackling. How do we want to grow as an organization? Special districts, right? Like I work for a special district. There's a handful of us who are MMANC members who work for special districts, but I think a lot of those of us, we came through cities. And so then we ended up and we got jobs in special districts. And so we saw the benefit of that. There's areas that we're examining. How can we grow as an organization, and how can we better partner? We thrive on partnerships, with other professional associations that are based in California, and because we're not in competition with each other, we really complement each other. And so those, we're looking at as an association, how do we better complement our partners? How do we partner with other professional associations in our area to provide content, provide training, and get together various groups of local government professionals?
I can concur with that statement, having spent a lot of time around MMANC. It's been a great organization to work with, and everybody's open-minded, and there's always good ideas floating. And so I certainly appreciate that aspect of it. I'm just curious. So what's been your favorite part of your career? I'm going to change gears here a little bit, but sure. I want to transition a little bit into about like career advice. But before I get there, what do you love about your public service career?
What got me into it was how could I kind of help others, right? The public service mindset, right? Starting out, I am teaching swim lessons. I really enjoyed it. I'm helping kids, most of them are youth. There are definitely adults who are learning how to swim, how to stay safe in the water, right? Like that's the start. Like that was a service, providing that opportunity for youth to be able to learn how to swim and be safe in the water. And then just taking that mindset, through all of the work that I've done, my volunteer years, right, of working in the Peace Corps, figuring out what does a community want? What are they looking for? Not that I have all the answers. And I think that's part of what I've really gotten, that I've really liked about working in local government is I don't have the answers, but I am here to help out and provide my expertise, work with those who are looking for a service or need something different from their government. How can I help and provide that? That's where I work now. That was how our West County wastewater was founded in 1921. Was a group of residents said we need to do something about the wastewater. right?
Yeah.
And then, through different laws, Clean Water Act, we're doing much better now on the clean water side, our potable water. It's a public health. It provides public health. And I think of that through local government, and just in my career, I've had the opportunity to work in many different areas, right? Like managing a free community shuttle for free public transportation. I've had the ability to work in stormwater management, help get funding to do big projects, multi-benefit projects. Right now I'm working in clean water. So just throughout my career, it is really the service aspect that still keeps me engaged and enjoying what I'm doing, because it's every year there's always going to be a new challenge. We always have funding challenges. We never have enough money to do everything that we would like to do. And then balancing, how do we let the community know what we're doing? And I think that's a big piece in special districts is, where I work now, is we've been having a big effort the last several years. One of our initiatives as an organization is, how do we better communicate with our community, instead of let's just be as quiet as possible and hope nobody notices us, right? We can't work that way anymore. We need to let others know the good work that we're doing. And if something happens that doesn't go the way that we would like, or that we're also going to be open and transparent about that too. And so there's challenges with this. But it's, but the end of the day is that, part of local government is we are supporting democracy. We're supporting the community to help, them, as a group be better, have the services that they need.
So if I could just launch off a couple comments. First, thank you for your work in clean water in dealing with sanitary sewer systems. As I like to point out to people, at the end of the day, it might not be the prettiest business, but without it, there is no civilization. We'd be all dead of dysentery or something else. So it's fundamental to the existing high density population areas that dominate California and dominate American society and dominate the world. And all you have to do is visit a place in the world that doesn't have one to realize how valuable they are to building civilization. Second, I just find it interesting how much of your careers obviously focused on the local government world, even though you had a stint in Peace Corps, which was probably very localized in your experience, but as a federal program. And you referenced some of the public policy people you went to college with who probably ended up in the public policy realm at a federal level, at the risk of denigrating it, like living in ivory towers, imagining policies as opposed to getting your hands dirty on the ground in communities, making change. And I have this conversation with undergrads all the time. They get very excited about the feds and going to work for the federal government and having a big national impact. And I try to remind them, I'm like, look, I can appreciate that desire and instinct, but you cannot underestimate the actual progress you make working in the local space where you can see the work product happen and feel the community impacted in a positive way by the work you do, juxtaposed with pontificating about a proposal idea that's going to get, through 30 different committees and workshops and public comment periods and maybe eke out 5 years later and move the needle a little bit. It's just a very different game. So the local level is, obviously I'm biased, I'm in it, but I think it's far more attractive if you're a doer kind of mentality where you want to see the impact of your work happen.
No, I definitely agree. That's what's attracted me to local government, is that I'm in the trenches, I'm doing, and then when I do something that works and I get to see it, right? I was working in, past job working in South San Francisco. I was with, we were launching, we're trying out the bike share, right? This was when it was just getting started out. We were trying it out. And then all of a sudden the high school students loved it and they made their own little video. And so it's just seeing that they're using, part of the, other than transportation, it was a way for going back to my recreation field. I really appreciated that they were, there was a group who were using this resource that we were trying out, these bike shares. You didn't have to have your own bike, and they were using it as a kind of a recreation, a way to get around town, feel independent. And they made a video about it as part of one of their classes. And when I saw that video and they were, using the bike share bikes, just understanding that I was a part of that. It's just something you can't replicate when you are in those higher levels of government, but seeing it on the ground and seeing the impact that it has is really rewarding.
Yeah. So attention youth listening to this podcast, or parents of youth listening to this podcast, send your kids to go get a job with Parks and Rec for the summer and get them a little bit, get them a taste of public service and local government and see if it sticks. But they'll make some money, they'll have a winning strategy, they get to do some customer service interface and learn some good life lessons.
That's right.
All right. So how can folks get involved with MMANC?
Yeah. The starting point is, attend one of our events, right? We were mentioning the summer symposium that's happening in August, our annual conference that is in November. And if you like it, if you like the people you meet and you want to get more involved, there is participate in the CGL program, Credential Government Leader, as well as if you still want it, there's opportunities to volunteer and help plan one of our events, whether it's Winter Forum, it's the annual conference. So they're kind of low stress ways to kind of get your feet wet. Obviously, if you want to continue, there's opportunities to serve as a region co-chair and help put in events in the area of where you work. But I would just really encourage anybody who's interested. You work in local government, go to an MMANC event. If you're not on our email list, I think that's the very first part. Go to MMANC.org, and there's a way to sign up to get on the email list if you're not quite ready to jump in and become a member. But I would say just go to our website, go to one of our events, and get to know us. And
I'm always struck at this because it strikes me as one of the best values going. But what does membership cost to MMANC?
It's $95 a year.
That's a deal.
So I think it's a really good, it's a value. And then once you start, you get, when you go to our events, right, there's a member rate. So you don't have to pay the non-member rate. So there's a discount there. And so there you have access to, just to get to know others within your area. But it's, $95 a year. It's worth it, even if your organization is not willing to pay for it. But at first ask, because, a lot of times your supervisors are willing to cover that cost. And so, if they're not, I think it's still manageable. And if I know a couple have to pay out of pocket, but I think it's worth it if that's something you wanted to do to get more involved in the profession, find a way that you can move up and, get to where you want to be in local government.
Well, it's, at the end of the day, it's an investment in yourself. You should be willing to invest in yourself. If you're willing to go invest in yourself for a college education or a post-college graduate degree, you sure as heck should be willing to invest in yourself with a association membership that you take advantage of, which will take time, but I've seen great things happen for those that participate in MMANC. And then last question, how do people, if they want to get a hold of you, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
I think the easiest way is you can just send me an email. I'm at president@mmanc.org. That's probably the easiest way. The email is also on the website. We do have a generic email as well. But yeah, I'm happy to talk to anybody about MMANC, what the value is, what the benefit, and talk more about the program and how they can be involved.
That's awesome. Well, that is today's report. My thanks to Justin for joining us. From the whole PublicCEO team, myself, Ryder, Todd Smith, thank you for your time. We hope you learned something new and inspiring that will help you in your public service. Remember, PublicCEO has a daily newsletter that is free to those who sign up at PublicCEO.com. If you have feedback, questions, or guest suggestions for PublicCEO Report, please email editor@PublicCEO.com.